Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining after lunch. I'm sure you all have still a bit of a dip after lunch, so I'll try to make it a bit more exciting with a different topic than the usual bulkers and container vessels. So we're going to talk about more the niche type of vessels, and one of them you can see on this picture. This is an ice-class Combi Freighter 5000 that Deijen shipyards built. And I'll tell more about this type of vessels that we built in China as well, and how we help our clients to finance these vessels as well. Because as we know, most of the financiers are still focused on the ocean-going merchant vessels, and our focus is more the specialized niche type of vessels. So we also need a specialized type of financiers to be able to finance this for our clients. You probably all heard of this nice phrase, the riches are in the niches. I'm not sure if you also know the next part of the phrase. I didn't know, actually. But it continues as this. The fortune is made in the follow-up. And I know, of course, here in China, everything is about making fortune. A lot of sayings about it, a lot of wisdom. And the meaning is basically that, indeed, you can make a good profit if you focus on the niche segments, whatever industry it is. But in the end, key is to follow up with your clients. Otherwise, you cannot make the fortune in the end. And I think that's also underlying the strategy of the company I work for, Deijen Shipyards Group, of which my colleague already gave an introduction earlier today on the panel. And I'll dive a bit deeper in the type of vessels we produce, especially here in China, where we also have 2 shipyards. This is the quick agenda. On the bottom right, another type of vessel that we built, the tug vessels. It's also called niche, but every port, every harbor you are going, you will see this type of vessels also here in Shanghai. A quick introduction on Deijen Shipyards for who is not familiar with the company. So we are a shipbuilder, originally from the Netherlands, founded almost 100 years ago, but now active with 35 shipyards globally, more than 13,000 people working for us. And we deliver over 150 vessels per year across different segments, from very small tugboats to super yachts and big naval vessels. It's still family-owned, proudly family-owned, by the Deijen family. And we build our vessels with 2 unique selling points. One is we build them on stock, standardized vessels on stock, so before the client is confirmed, we start building them. Because over the past 100 years, we know the market, we know which type of vessels we can sell. And the benefit for the client is shorter lead time. It's almost something like a car showroom. You can come to our shipyard and pick one and take it home. Of course, increased quality. If you make them over and over again, you know how to make the vessel, and any issues with the previous model you can fix. And in the end, also reduce cost, because you don't have to design them over and over again. You can use the same design, which reduces the cost of the total vessel. The second part is we have also a full suite of services. So we build vessels, that's the core business, but we also have shipyards that repair vessels, as my colleague already mentioned. So if you buy a vessel, you can also go to our shipyards worldwide to have them repaired or maintained if needed. The other part is financing, and that's my role. I'm based in Singapore, where I help clients in the region when they want to purchase a vessel, to connect them with the right financiers and help them also with the structuring. Especially for these type of more specialized vessels, it is still required to help them with that a lot. Then, yeah, as I said, we have a wide diversity of type of vessels, so it's more specialized with a broad range. I will show you a picture in a bit. And we sell them to everyone, to very small ship owners, starting with 1, 2 vessels, to the big names you all know, to governments, to everyone. And yeah, we have almost 2.5 billion order book and around 3 billion revenue every year in euro. And roughly around 30% of that is finance, where the client comes to us with a request, can you help me with financing, which is done through the team we have in the Netherlands, in the UAE, and also in Singapore. So this is a snapshot of some vessels we built. So from super yachts to dredging vessels, ferries, offshore wind, offshore oil and gas, naval, you name it, we make it. but it's slightly different than the most of the vessels we talk about here today at Marine Money. Then we have 2 shipyards in China, one in Yichang and one in Changde, which is here. And we are currently here in Shanghai, so it's around 1,600 kilometers from here. And these are, they're quite far inland, but they're at the river. So it's quite easy for them to sail to Shanghai, where in the end usually the commissioning is and the sea trials are being done, and also the handover to the client. Our biggest shipyard is the one in Yichang, which was established more than 25 years ago together with a joint venture partner from the China Merchant Group. We still have that, and recently it was expanded and relocated slightly out of Yichang to have more capacity. Because I think, of course, one of the topics today is, are the shipyards full? Well, we also see a lot of demand for our vessels. So we have now increased the capacity to be able to facilitate the demand from the clients. So we can build up to 20 vessels now on this shipyard of this type of combi freighters, as we call them. And these are 4,000 to 5,000 deadweight ton combi freighters. This is the other shipyard in Changde, slightly smaller, and we built slightly more diverse type of vessels, around 5 a year, but we have excess capacity. So we also use it when another shipyard is full, like in Vietnam or the one in Yichang. We can build a lot of different type of vessels here. So it's an extra buffer we have. Yeah, so I put here niche between the sign because is it so niche? We built river cruises as well, RoPax vehicles, LNG bunkering, of course, at the talk of the day these days, we also build them as well. Dredging vessels, very popular as well at the moment. And this is here, tugboats. So people always say it's niche, but is it niche? It's more specialized. Because again, these vessels, they also sail everywhere, but a lot of people are less familiar with it. But I think there's a lot of opportunity also if you're on the financing side in this segment. And I'll come back to that later. But myself, I have a background actually on the banking side, in asset-based finance, structured finance, and also I would always focus on the typical container vessel bulkers, the A names. And now I moved to the shipbuilder side, and I got more familiar with the asset type, and I think it's actually a very interesting asset class to focus on, especially with all the competition that there is and all the pressure on the pricing as discussed before. So I would like to share a bit more about that. This is a brief video of a launching of one of our combi freighters in Dami Yichang. This is actually like a carbon neutral vessel, because we have a lot of sustainable options as well these days. Not sure if this works. And there it goes. Yeah, so in brief, what do we see in the market as a shipbuilder active here in China, especially in this specialized segment? We still actually see a very stable and healthy demand for our vessels, because there's a big talk about very high asset prices at the moment. And a lot of clients are actually looking for versatile vessels in this market. And our combi freighters, they can have different type of cargo, so very efficient. We mostly sell them to ship owners in Europe, so Turkey, UK, Germany, and they're very efficient. So a lot of times they will replace them with older cargo vessels, and at least they will be 20% more efficient in their carbon offset, carbon emission, even without any green options. So you can also put like batteries on board, hybrid systems, even the sails you saw in the first picture. So that's why we see a very healthy demand actually. And indeed an increasing demand for the sustainable options. So we have, like I said, electrical options. We also have an AI system. You need to have AI these days, right? So we have something called Triton. It's a software system you put on your vessel, and it measures everything from where the vessel's going, if there's an efficient route you can take, all to save on fuel and to cut your emissions. Yeah, USTR also discussed today. Most of the clients that purchase in this vessel, they don't go to the US, or actually none of them. So we have very limited impact from the USTR looming on the head of the shipping industry, because most of them sail in Europe. Then our clients are a lot of times smaller ship owners as well. So for them, they like to do their business, right? They want to operate the ship. Financing is sometimes a need, but they don't want to deal with a very complicated documentation process or too much due diligence, which is of course unavoidable. But I think one of the quotes I saw actually from the summary from the Marine Money in Singapore, maybe some of you have been there as well, was flexibility and relationship sometimes matters more than just a few basis points discount in the pricing. And that's also what we see with our clients. A lot of times they want a good relationship, they can build and grow their fleet. And it's not always about the sharpest pricing. It's about flexibility that should not disturb their business as usual as a ship owner. But then on the other hand, there is still a lot of times, I would say, a more caution approach from the traditional shipping banks, leasing parties for this type of vessels. Because either they're not familiar with the asset class, or the ticket sizes are too small, because these are not vessels that cost 50, 60 million most of the time. They're usually around 10, 50 million. And of course, everyone's just too busy with their business as usual. So it takes a bit of time to get familiar with the asset class. And you need to have the time to do that. So that's where the need for tailored financing solutions, as we call it, come in. And that's where we help the client. So basically, my role, sometimes I'm just a matchmaker. I connect the client with the right financier, and that's it. And that's usually for the more sophisticated clients, they can do the whole process themselves. But a lot of times, they need actually to be very guided through the whole financing process. It might be their first financing, actually. It's all depending on the level of experience, and that's also where we try to manage with the client, how involved should we be. And then also it comes with giving the client a lot of different options. So not give them one option, that's it, but they can choose almost like a menu. What do you like? Do you like ECA coverage or not? What's the difference in pricing? Do you want to go for a leasing solution? Do you want to go for mortgage finance, etc., etc.? So usually we give them these options and guide them through the process of which option is the best for their company. Yeah, and I said a lot of the clients we deal with, actually, they don't really care about the best pricing. They want ease of process, good communication. And that's also what we see in the Middle East. We do quite a lot of business there with ship owners in the region. We also have a shipyard in Sharjah in the UAE. And there's a product called PDCs, post-dated checks. And sometimes we say, okay, we can actually offer a much better pricing, but they don't want to deal with it. They use a PDC, it's quick, it's expensive, but again, it doesn't disturb their business process. What we also do is combine different structures. So using the traditional leasing structure for working capital, for instance, we're actually currently discussing it with one of the parties here as well. And that's also what we do and why we're here, to expand our network of partners. We can find creative solutions to help our clients. A lot of the clients that are ordering this kind of combi freight are from Turkey, and they also actually sometimes have investors behind them that they need Islamic financing structure. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but it's actually not that complicated, but it does require a different type of party that can provide it and structure it in a slightly different way than the traditional financing. So we also help them with that. And again, a lot of the financiers we work with and we want to add to our network, we have to educate them a little bit about this kind of asset class. They're usually not familiar with it. Most of the people, when we walk into the room, We say, oh, we build tugboats. Say, oh, yeah, I know tugboats. I want to finance them. It takes a bit of time to get them through the process. And one of the structural elements that we use to get them comfortable is called a buyback guarantee, which I want to dive in a bit more. Because in the end, what I always say, if we can help the client with financing as a tool, we can reach our ultimate goal, which is in the end, sell the vessel. Yeah, so buyback guarantee, it can strengthen the financing proposition for both the client, because it usually reduces the pricing that the bank charges, and also for the bank, it's an additional security they can have. Now I'll explain how it works. It's basically we give a put option in the contract with the client and the financier, which means if the client would default on the financing for any reason, or under a leasing structure, they will not exercise the purchase obligation or option, then we will buy back the vessel and then pay back the bank or the financier. And we can do that because these are standardized vessels. We build them over and over again. We know them very well. And we know also the market. We have sales managers all around the world, and they usually can easily sell these vessels again to another client. And we will take them back, we refit them, make them all nice and pretty, and a lot of times we can sell them for another profit. And that's the benefit of having such a big integrated shipping building company, that we can provide the structure, and we're comfortable taking that risk. And of course, as a bank, as a financier, you don't want to take a vessel. When I started in banking, one of the first lessons I learned was we're asking for collateral, but we don't want it. You never want to own your collateral because we don't know what to do with it. And as Deijen, as a shipyard, we want to own the vessel because, again, we know the market and we can actually make another profit. So for a lot of the financiers, this is actually a very comfortable way to start financing this type of vessels. Because instead of only having the risk on the client and the asset, they have also a third way out, which is Deijen, taking back the client, usually at the price of the outstanding loan. And this is an option we actually use quite a lot in the structures. And in my experience, it's hardly or never have been used, because in the end you always find a solution, but it's still a nice backup solution to have and makes a lot of financiers comfortable to enter this market. This is a structure, very simple, but basically we have a shipbuilding contract with the client. The client has then a financing agreement with the financier, and we provide the Deijen Shipyards Group directly a buyback guarantee to the financier as well, in case anything goes wrong. So then I will invite you all to also become a tailor. I'm not sure if you've ever been to a tailor yourself for a suit. There are, of course, a lot of suits in the room today. But if you have ever been, you know it takes a bit of more time. It's more pricey sometimes, but it takes a bit of effort to go to the tailor and have everything measured. But in the end, you walk out with a much better result, a much better suit. And that's also how I see this kind of financing. It takes a bit of effort to get into it. But if you get it, it's actually a very nice asset class to be in. And of course, you have just a better return. So if you have money to put to work, but you cannot accept 100 basis points over Euribor SOFR, this is a great asset class to make a bit more return and a very fun asset class to be in. So I invite you all to become a tailor. Thanks.